A very good evening to you. You're joining in with another episode of Law and Order by Channeleye. And today we are going to discuss a very sensitive as well as a controversial topic in today's media as well as the general public of Sri Lanka, a citizen's role in reconciliation. So today to our Channeleye studios, we warmly welcome Dr. Dayani Panagoda, attorney at law. She has experience of working with the people and getting a first-hand experience of what people think and how citizens behave when it comes to reconciliation in Sri Lanka. So a very good evening, madam, and nice to have you at Channeleye.
Very good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me.
So to start off today's discussion, I would like to ask you, reconciliation, a very sensitive topic, a very important topic, and a very political topic to a certain extent. What is the role of a citizen when it comes to reconciliation? Or is it only the government's duty as a lawmaker to ensure reconciliation in Sri Lanka?
I think the reconciliation, the whole definition and then the whole perspective of this is that it is everybody's business. That is how I look at it. It is not only the government needs to make that environment for people to talk about the past, deal with the past and certain places where that you need to also memorialize, and then you move forward. So for citizen to play that role, the government has to make the necessary changes. So it is important to say that citizen has a bigger role to play in A, selecting the government that who is pro for reconciliation, B, and then even if it is not only sufficient that you select and wait and relax, whereas you push the government that you selected or elected to go for the reconciliation, because everybody at the end wants the future minus violence and the destruction and the devastation that we went through.
So, madam, needless to say, Sri Lanka experienced a tragic loss during the 30-year war, as well as with the insurrections of young people in the south as well. If the government is doing certain work when it comes to reconciliation, how can a citizen in his own capacity complement their work? Now, the government has initiated many institutions when it comes to reconciliation, such as the Office of the Missing Persons, as well as other governmental bodies which work in reconciliation. But how can a citizen really add to that? Or how can a citizen be useful in creating harmony among religions and races? We also talk about this in the backdrop of religious disruptions which we experienced in Sri Lanka past few years.
I think citizen has two roles to play. A, if you are a victim, if you need the services of these institutions, the mechanisms, please go walk up to them, ask for your services, and then ensure that they serve you. And then you may not get the answer on the first day, but you need to engage with them. It is the responsibility of the citizen to inquire these mechanisms, what these mechanisms are, where do I should go to, this is my issue, talk to people. I think that way citizen play a bigger role proactively in going into the mechanisms. Vis-a-vis the mechanisms also should walk into the every doorstep and check with them whether they really need these services. The second role that citizen play is be responsible citizenry. Like you wherever you go, whatever you do, and even your the way that you behave, talk, and express yourself, you need to be mindful that we have had enough. We suffered 30 years. We had 2 insurrections, and then we had recent religious and communal violence. And then therefore, people, the citizen should be responsible of what the citizen is saying, what he is doing, and what kind of engagement that person is. Each one of us has a responsibility. You cannot just leave that responsibility to the government or these mechanisms or the institutions or the people who are working to say, okay, working reconciliation. And well, I always give an example, Shahada, in my classes or also when I am teaching this subject. You know, in the school we say that we are all together, we need to, you know, I am sure that even in your school you will study with the all ethnic groups, and when you go home, if your parents are not allowing you to engage with another child who is from a low caste, let alone these the ethnic differences, the low caste, and then that child gets confused. So, child think that what is this parent is doing, parents are saying, and what is the school that I am attending is proposing something else. So, that child gets confused, and then you expect that child to become an adult and come and work in the as a government official or otherwise, and then they think what my parents did right, and then I might take the same path. Yeah.
So you mentioned about the recent ethnic and communal violence in Sri Lanka. What we as citizens, yes, what we could observe from the ethnic violence is that most of the people who took part in these violent and, you know, hate crimes were young people, were in their 20s, most of them, and even some below 20s. Are you happy with the current school curriculum, and does it provide a child with the necessary knowledge on reconciliation, harmony and peace building in Sri Lanka?
I think this is a topic that we've been discussing in every discussions that we are having with the various organizations, and I mean, I have heard this enough and saying that we need to sort of see to our curriculum. I think our curriculum is good enough. Our curriculum tells us as to how to become a good citizen. I think, and our teachers are also, with due respect to them, that they are also doing a good job in allowing the child to learn to become a skilled person in the future, because it is important, because this is a whole life is a struggle in a country like ours, where we don't have that luxury of, you know, not studying and but getting into something overnight and do something different. So, it is important. Therefore, I should not burden the children in the school on these subjects. These subjects should be a day-to-day discussion at non-formal and informal education level. Let the formal education go as it is. It is the non-formal and informal education systems where that we have the group discussions. We need to introduce few things like that, and then the family takes the responsibility, and the friends and family can get together and discuss with their children about the past and come for and to see that what happened, because they may come and ask these questions. So, then you need to not to brush it, you know, or put it under the carpet and then move on, or you need to deal with that. So, what I feel is that my understanding is that, because for me, for example, I learned all these things from my family, from my community and from my parents, and I think we are all, I think this, and you also asked the question of like why these young people. I think young people are now exposed to all these new technologies such as Facebook, or new tools such as Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp. Recently, I was told that most of the people, 75% of the people who are sharing the messages have not read these messages. That is alarming. If you are sharing something on your Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp without reading the contents, but looking at the title, oh, this looks very interesting that I share, I think you are making a big mistake by sharing such information. So, you have to be responsible. Am I happy with these young people? No, not at all happy, and I am actually giving them a message, and I am talking to them right now as well as I have been always doing it. it is their future that they have to look after. I mean, for us, we have had our lives with the 30 years of war, but it is the future generation should take lead on this. Now, for example, this year, 19th May, comes in the 10 years of ending the war. And that comes on the Vesak full moon Poya day and day after Vesak full moon Poya day, which means it's not a coincidence. It's something that you need to be bigger in your heart and say, look, enough is enough. Let's go reconcile. This is for our future. Let's go. Social cohesion, reconciliation is important for us, and we are working on that. Make that commitment. I mean, the youth can come forward, and no one can stop youth coming forward. If it is non-violent, then come forward and tell the government, tell the adults, stop these nonsense and move forward. Yeah.
And also, you spoke about an interesting area, social media. Now, social media has been a part and parcel of all of our lives now. It's inseparable from our day-to-day activities: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Viber, whatever you call it. Now, social media is creating a sensation among young people, and a lot of hate crimes take place through social media, and also a lot of hate speech take place through social media. And also recently, the shooting which happened in New Zealand was also live streamed on Facebook. Do you think there should be a reform in global laws as well as local laws when it comes to governing content which is shared on Facebook? Now, these also on social media. Now, these also a very difficult task as well, because mainstreaming content in social media could be very technical and difficult at times.
Yeah, I think the laws needs to be reformed. There is no doubt about it as to, because the Facebook makes money out of all these postings, sharing each time that you share a post, and therefore it is important. But more, and also the local media. I think local media, when you say, I know that for a fact that the moment you say that laws has to be reformed, people get fear that, oh, they are going to control media. It's not that control in the media, but also to ensure that anybody and everybody cannot get away by creating this kind of mayhem in the social media. So if you really be watchful and guard the media, social media, in such a way that where you find people who are creating this kind of a situation, must take them into courts and challenge them in a court of law, because no one should be above the law. Right, that is very important in terms of with all the difficulties in monitoring, and but I think it is happening right now. Right now, I think even the Facebook is feeling. I think they were questioned over what happened in Digana in Sri Lanka also, and even this whole thing of as to what happened in Christchurch. I mean, and without forgetting the fact that one person who is also involved in the media here was saying that something nasty about that event. I think it is also, again, comes back to the individual and being a responsible individual, responsible citizen. That's my my take is that reconciliation or prevention and non-recurrence of violence is the individual effort, but then it becomes so individuals come into then groups. No, you are in the, for example, as lawyers, what else can we do in this? The young people come forward, tell the government, tell the adults, stop this. We want to move forward. No more violence that we need to see. Things like that has to happen. You cannot take in isolation one particular area.
Now, madam, you are an attorney at law, and I would like to ask this from a perspective of a lawyer. Now, the reconciliation mechanism in Sri Lanka is available, and there are new institutions, there are laws passed, but there is an allegation that the law in Sri Lanka, or even the law related to reconciliation, is a bit distant from the common man. And most of the time, people who use these are generally people who are able and who are strong enough to use the force of, to use different remedies available by law. What role does a lawyer play, or what role does a lawyer should play when it comes to bringing the law closer to people, or to make justice more accessible to the common man?
I think what you and Rupavahini is doing the right thing by, when you say law and order, when you are trying to do a program like this, I don't think that for example, I don't think that people will watch this kind of a program wants to know how am I to deal with my divorce, or how am I to deal with my land issue, because they are not seeking that kind of information in programs like this, where that programs like this, you need to bring the lawyer's perspective on working with, for example, sexual harassments and reconciliation whole mechanism, and then bringing the law and order again to to preserve the governance part and the democracy part, and also the lawyer who is in the I mean, you and I know that there is a bar association. There is a bar association, and bar association is also working on a lot of other issues and a lot of other sections of law that people, it needs to go closer to the people, but they also should take the responsibility of taking the mechanisms such as Office of Missing Persons into the people, and the lawyer should be also responsible. I always say that if I want to go and ask from a lawyer, okay, my husband is missing and what do I do next, the lawyer should be able to answer, rather than giving a vague answer to say that now that Office of Missing Persons Act is there, how he can or she can get the services of that. So, it is important to the regional bar associations, the regional bodies have a responsibility to play. I am not putting an agenda to the bar association here, but I am sure that bar association should also take a lead role in terms of these kind of new laws coming in, and the importance of these new laws, and who will be benefiting from these new laws.
And also we spoke about the role of lawyers, and we also discussed previously about the role of, or rather the responsibility of the media not to air hate speech and information that can incite violence. Is there a proactive role which the media should play? Should they go beyond their traditional limits in giving a message out to people? Because all what usually we see in mainstream media as well as social media is reporting facts as it is. Does the media have an additional responsibility of going beyond their usual duties to report and also to make people aware of peace building and reconciliation processes?
I strongly believe yes, they have. What happens is, what they are playing the role now is to make money. I mean, that is also part of it. However, from that, give a little room, space for you to air the kind of storytelling, bring the people's stories into the people to hear, listen, see it. That role can play by the media, because it is anywhere an interesting kind of, if you can have reconciliation series where that you actually interview people from all walks of lives who have been suffering, who have been affected by the conflict or the religious and communal harmony or some other way, and bring that you are not trying to see that you are not trying to show the misery, but show that how that persons have built their lives, and bring them into the discourse, and then see that this is what these mechanisms will help them. So, this is where that the person have got the services and help. So, that is where the media has a bigger role now with this Office of Missing Persons. Go with them, you know, some stories may be private, but there may be some stories that where you can actually air it and see. What I see now is most of the stories like this are on blogs. Now, how many of us are reading blogs? It's not, the blogs are not reaching out to the communities at the grassroots level. Rupavahini goes there, other channels goes there. They don't read blogs. So these success stories and the stories that have that creates an impact is in certain areas where that people cannot understand, people cannot go, whereas this media, mainstream media, should do that.
And also, when we talk about reconciliation, what role and especially about empowering women has been a hot topic when it comes to reconciliation, and especially in the war affected areas, as you already mentioned, most of the current victims are women, because women lost their men who went to war and women lost their children who went to war. So are you happy with the current process which takes place to empower women, or should there be more proactive role from the government as well as non-governmental organizations to uplift the standard of women and to empower women in Sri Lanka?
I think quite a lot of work has been done in empowering women. I think women are actually more aware of these reconciliation mechanisms rather than men. It is the men who created this war, and then the women are to clean the mess. So they are very much aware. You know, when I go to districts, I always see that women are more proactive. And if you have any reconciliation program in any districts, the 60 to 70% is women who are participating. So even the men believe that it is the women's job to work on reconciliation, peace building, social cohesion, harmony. Empowering part is also being done. However, what has not happened is that recognizing the fact that there are many victims of this are women. Especially I am talking about widows, and widows from both sides, and widows of civilian casualties, you know, when they got entangled into crossfires and all that. I think there are lots of things that we need to do, not necessarily on empowering them in terms of for them to understand the importance of peace building, but also to ensure that they are empowered in such a way that they can look after their family and they move forward with their family because of the children. So it is important to work with women, and I believe that women can make a difference and they are the change agents. So I am to say that I am not unhappy of what women are doing. Actually, women are doing quite a lot of work and I am happy about it, but we can do more, especially in terms of getting women into the decision making processes in the grassroots level, from the local government level to the Parliament. That
Especially
is where
the
that is where we are lacking. That is where the legislatures are also coming in. I think we need to have people who has courage to be open and say right things in the Parliament and get right things going.
So before we wind up, do you have a final message for the citizens of Sri Lanka, especially the young people?
Especially for young people, yes, come forward, and I think it is time for you to act, and it is time for you to design your future through the adults, through the decision makers. Don't wait anymore. 10 years have gone past and the 19th May is coming in. Come forward, work for reconciliation, work for peace, and work for unity, work for unity, and then coexistence.
So with that progressive message, we wind up today's Law and Order episode, and we, on behalf of Channeleye, we would like to thank Dr. Dayani Panagoda, attorney at law and a professional who has worked so hard in reconciliation processes in Sri Lanka, especially getting first-hand experiences working with the people. So thank you for sharing those experiences with us. So with that, we conclude today's Law and Order episode. We wish you a pleasant night.